It's said that true pornography is given to us by vastly patient professionals. All right. I think that was said by Chief Justice Potter Stewart. Is that the what he said? Yeah, he was sitting there up on the bench, and he was wistful. He was wistful about his days as a young boy, looking at woodcuts, thinking like, man, this is it took somebody a long time to do this. A very patient professional. Or it may have been George Washington who said it. You know. Or the author Thomas Pynchon. It's like, no, I just read that in his book today, that he has this moment where a character is indeed looking at a woodcut where the wood is a little bit splintered there at the end, and it looks like somebody, whoever was doing the pornographic rendering on that block of maple, was getting a little bit impatient there toward the end. They're just like, oh my God, I can't wait for this pornography to be done. Yeah, that's what it says here. That true pornography is given to us by vastly patient professionals. Right. Looking at a woodcut by an anonymous artist of some kind. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I only say that tonight because I was thinking about this this idea that, sooner or later in today's world, if you have a job, you're a professional, you go in someplace every day, and you take one for the team, or you do it for the team, and everything that you do is part of the organization. And they own your sweat and all the work and all the hours you put into it. And then they find out that you don't just do that, that you have something that you do on the side that makes you happy and gives you purpose. And they're shocked and kind of appalled by it. Right? And this is what it's like, to, I guess, live your life like your hobby. If it's on the internet, like mine is, right? Yeah, this is the Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. I've been doing this show now for, since 2010, and it's, I suppose, become a little bit encoded in my identity as a human being. I do enjoy doing this show quite a lot. But it is one of those things these days where you go in for a job and, you work that job, and sooner or later people, may Google you, and they might find your name on this podcast. Like, what's the show? The Midnight Citizen. And they'll look it up, and they'll hear something that you talk about. And then suddenly that becomes their impression of you. And they're kind of astonished by it, right? Yeah, like it's a little bit scandalous. And so, many years ago when I was teaching high school, I no doubt I had some, it wasn't the teachers, my colleagues that I worked with, it was actually my students. My students Googled me. They wanted to see, like, who is this freaking guy up there at the front of the room, teaching me Shakespeare and thinking that I need to know this stuff. And so they looked me up and no doubt found, my Midnight Citizen podcast show. And they were talking to me about it one day and just like seeming to be like really embarrassed that they had even brought it up. And I said, no, it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't do the show if I didn't think that, my students were going to find it. And they're like, yeah, it's just, the stuff you talk about in class is different from what you talk about on your podcast. Mr. B. And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, it's just, the stuff I talk about on the podcast isn't necessarily, curriculum. I talk about like B movies and occasionally, things that are not necessarily like about books and grammar and syntax and diagramming sentences and things. They're like, yeah, I know, but you're a little bit blue. I don't know. I don't know what word they used to describe it. They didn't use blue. They weren't like, nightclub promoters in the 1950s, like your show's a little blue. They said like we were surprised because we turned on the show and you were talking about pornography, talking about porn, right? So, I have no idea when in the past I talked about porn, but, if I'm going to talk about it, I might as well talk about it like in a very positive way, in a way that gives a life lesson to the youngsters of today, right? It's just that like if you're, I don't know, like going to engage in the production of pornography, that true pornography, the stuff that people really respect, is given to us by vastly patient professionals. And I read that today in a Thomas Pynchon book, The Crying of Lot 49. So I'm marrying the two, the book and the literature, as well as the life lesson, is that if you're going to go about anything in life, even if it's pornography, be patient. No. But I also truly believe that it's what Chief Justice Potter Stewart really wanted to say when he said, I don't know, it's pornography. I'll know it when I see it. That's what he, I think, really meant, right? Yeah, and this is probably what George Patton really meant, when he stood in front of that American flag, because July 4th's coming up. He really wanted to say, oh, God, what is this?
Be seated.
Yes, sir.
I want you to remember that no punk bastard ever got a gnarly piece of poontang by being sensitive and considerate.
Mr. Awesome, how did you come up with the idea of Mr. Awesome?
Mr. Awesome is my nickname as a professional video game player. I've been the world champion in the Guinness Book of World Records since 1983.
So that's not George Patton. No, that's Mr. Awesome. He was the championship missile command player in the 1980s.
Well, celebrity is a very subjective term. I believe that I should be like king for a day. I mean, I've seen the world champion cherry pit spitter on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And if that guy should be on The Tonight Show, at least I can just be a celebrity for a day. I didn't even get that. I got no recognition at all. I didn't get to be on any television shows. It's like I was a ghost, and I just don't feel it's right. And I just want a little recognition, not necessarily to become a celebrity.
How long have you been working on your autobiography, your comic book autobiography?
Well, I've been putting it together piece by piece over the years because it is an autobiography, so it entails a lot about my life. But it says about the things I do and what I've done and what my feelings are on certain things. And it's actually a book that's like 3 books in one. It's like a comical autobiography, plus it's also an expose on the method that I use to pick.
I have no idea what that guy's talking about. It's a world championship missile command player who posed for Playgirl magazine and was in that movie, The King of Kong. He was like the chief nemesis of Billy Mitchell, the world championship Pac-Man player. And yeah, this guy really does not, he engaging in lewd acts there on a pool table in his Playgirl cover shoot. And doesn't look like he has much patience there at all for what he's doing. Yeah, this book here, the Crying of Lot 49. So this is the second time I've read this book. This is a Thomas Pynchon book. I've talked about Thomas Pynchon quite a lot in the past on the Midnight Citizen show, going back years now, really. I mean, I think like there's a Thomas Pynchon renaissance going on right now, if you don't know. By the way, he's now 87 years old. He's got a new book coming out, and this is his first book in now over something like 12 years. And so, most likely, I hate to say it, this will probably be the last Thomas Pynchon book. But, you know, a few months or so, or a few weeks really, before his book comes out, there's a movie coming out that's also based on one of his books, a book he wrote in 1990 called Vineland. And so... So yeah, this summer I've been going back through all of Thomas Pynchon's books. I've read all of them now, except for you know, the big one, the one you're really supposed to read if you're on a desert island, and you can only take one Thomas Pynchon book with you. It's like really thick too, so it's like, you know, you could use it. As you read the pages, you could tear the pages out and use it to build a fire. So it's very helpful that way too. But, you know, Gravity's Rainbow is the one you're supposed to read. But I just finished V a couple weeks ago. That was his first book he wrote in like 1963. And then The Crying of Lot 49, this is a big one that he wrote in a few years later, 1966. This comes out. And it's a super thin book. It's 138 pages long. And to give you an idea of like how dense Thomas Pynchon's books are, he's really this author that puts off a lot of people, because his books are not always that easy to read at all. They're full of a lot of characters and a lot of diverging subplots, and sometimes you go through 3 different stories in one sentence. You know, it's taken me 2 weeks to read this book. I'm almost done with it. I'm like 10 pages away. But, you know, the reason why I read Thomas Pynchon again is because he's just this, he's what you would call like this very interesting author. You know, the only way I could describe it. I could say like he's a postmodern author, but, you know, that term for many, many years now has become like so convoluted. I did a whole thing about it a few weeks ago, and I noticed that I'm doing a live show tonight, by the way, and I was doing a live show then when I was talking about postmodernism, and I noticed there was a steep decline in the people who were actually listening, as well as like on streaming. Like later on when I actually posted the show, you know, to download, people stopped listening as soon as I said the word. Almost as soon as I said the word, you know, postmodern. People just didn't want to hear it. And I get it. I totally get it. But, you know, Thomas Pynchon is very much in that, you know, era of literary authors that we would very much classify as postmodern. This guy who's very interested in, you know, deconstructing narratives and the way that, like, we tell stories, and all of his characters in his books are very, are always being, you know, very paranoid about, like, how they're getting their knowledge and their information. And, you know, case in point, The Crying of Lot 49 is all about this this woman, Oedipus, you know, who her former lover dies and makes her the unwitting executor of his estate. And she starts seeing this like interesting symbol everywhere, this muted post horn. And she discovers this like underground society of this underground postal service, you know, these people who operate on the outside of the actual accepted, you know, United States Postal Service system. And they're sending each other all these letters and all these, you know, just these things that are unregulated and unguarded, ways of, you know, perhaps stirring up revolution, but really people are just saying hey to each other and like, you know, what are you reading this week? And it's just very innocuous conversations. But the idea is that they're at least controlling their information and the way they disseminate it, rather than like trusting some kind of government entity that has always controlled the way that they've, you know, gotten knowledge, if that makes any sense at all. And, you know, yeah, the book is written in 1966, and, you know, making an argument, making a case for the idea that like this has always been a thing that's stirred revolution, you know, throughout history, is it all comes down to who's carrying your mail. right? And so that's what this book is all about, The Crying of Lot 49. And very, predictive of the way, right, that it was to go in the later part of the 20th century. The idea that if there's one thing that kind of can link it all is the way that we have thought about information and the way that it's like controlled and passed along from person to person, the way that we've continuously evolved our chains of communication on the information superhighway, right? It started with email, and then you started getting forwarded email by all these people you didn't know. And then you started getting spam mail, so like you were no longer in control of who was sending you mail, just like the actual, postal service. You go to your mailbox one day and suddenly there's like all these, sharper image catalogs and these Pottery Barn catalogs and these Victoria's Secret catalogs, which are like, fine. There's a lot of patience put into that type of pornography. But then we moved from email, we moved to like social media, MySpace, and then Facebook, and then suddenly your mom is friending you on Facebook. So you have to migrate to another social media platform that has a lot more control between you and your friends. And eventually, we evolved to things like 4chan and 8chan, where lo and behold, entire government coups and revolutions are being plotted and conspired for, right? So that's what the Thomas Pynchon book, The Crying of Lot 49, predicts. And indeed, that's what we're, always living in, is this just a constant way of like the people controlling how they disseminate their own information and all that. And, it's a good book, but, like I said, it is very dense, and it will make you, I don't know, paranoid, I suppose. But yeah, it did remind me of this. I haven't thought about this in years. This website, Post Secret. I know postmodern, post secret, but if you remember it, I looked it up. It's still going, I think. Actually, I looked it up. So the idea of post secret is that you can write your deepest, darkest secrets on like a postcard or something and send it into this website. And they'll show it, and the whole idea is, right, is just kind of like a catharsis thing. Like, you can't live with the guilt of people not knowing, so you write it down on a card. You don't sign your name on it. That would betray the whole idea, and then you send it in. So I guess they're doing Pride Month secrets. Yeah, that's right. This is a Saturday, June 28th, as I'm recording this. This is the last Saturday of June 2025. So June is Pride Month, so they're doing Pride secrets. So I'm assuming a lot of people coming out. Here's somebody who's sending a picture of the American flag, and on the American flag it says, they wrote, "I don't want to admit that I'm gay because I still dream of becoming president." I definitely, I do believe that within my lifetime, if I maybe live like another 70 years, we will have a gay president. I think we may have a gay president in this country, honestly, before we have a woman president. I think that that's probably true. My prom date was gay. I pretended not to know. Oh, that's sweet. I think I knew a few people who actually had gay prom dates, right? Yeah. One of them was the girl I went to prom with. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. Here's a postcard, a cute postcard of, I think is that Audrey Hepburn kissing is that a Weimaraner? I told my dog that I am gay. I think that she is the only one that has not changed her opinion about me. That's really sweet. Yeah, just all these people are sending in these postcards. And in a way, this is like a secret postal service in a way, because it's very public. Anybody can see it. You're not sending it to anybody specifically, but it's a way of getting your biggest secret out there, just releasing it out into the world and having other people kind of make judgments and ideas about it. And maybe some ways they'll relate to it too. So I think that's, and yeah, this is a website that I had stumbled across many years ago, like 10 years ago, something like that. And I'm pleased to see that it's still up, So if you're interested in sending something into Post Secret, right? You can send it to me and I'll forward it to them, or you can just send it to them directly, Take a postcard or two, tell your secret anonymously, stamp and mail the postcard. Be brief. The fewer words used, the better. Be legible, be creative, and be secret. So send it to 28241 Crown Valley Parkway, number F224, Laguna Niguel, California, 92677. Yeah, so if you want to do that. It's interesting that they are using the traditional, postal service to do that. I genuinely, wonder if, the postal service is truly like something that's being phased out. Because I growing up, like, never, I would obviously mail letters, and, you always get, you get letters, like you get birthday cards. Like I get birthday cards, but it's getting to the point now where everybody who sends me a birthday card, like my mom, my dad, my mother-in-law, will usually enclose some money. They've stopped doing that because the people who work on the line at the post office have proven themselves untrustworthy of sending that mail along. It's happened to my wife. It happened to my wife's birthday is this month, and fortunately she got her money, but it's gotten to the point where she's had checks that have been sent that have actually been stolen before, have gotten to us with like envelopes that have been like slightly tapped open, and the checks have been stolen. So again, right now it's like my mother-in-law sent my wife a birthday card. She opened it yesterday, and inside it was like, check Zelle. I sent you some money through Zelle. That's just a way that we're always finding ways to, we've become a lot more empowered, with information and how we control it, and I guess, money in a way that's also information, in that regard. So, yeah. But using the traditional mail to actually use Post Secret is kind of interesting. Like, I guess you could actually, email it, but that defeats the purpose. There's a whole physiological element to it. Actually, writing something down on a postcard, taking it out to the mailbox, that joy that you get when you actually like close the door shut and like lift up the flag, letting the post office know, letting the carrier know that you have mail that's ready to go, right? That was always a very satisfying thing, just a real catharsis, right? And yeah, I do. I remember, just being in the 4th grade and I wrote an editorial to my local, city newspaper. Can't remember what was in the editorial, but I did get like a lot of satisfaction. I remember very, very clearly, probably like writing like a little editorial about what I thought about Ross Perot, or really what my parents thought about Ross Perot. And, taking it up the driveway, putting it in the mailbox, lifting up that flag. There you go, Mr. Perot. I'm undoing your candidacy for president. You're done. You're done. So, yeah, this is one of those weird shows where I'm coming to you live on a Saturday night. It's now past midnight by about 5 minutes, and I came in. I had about like 20 minutes to throw the show together, honestly. So it's very fly by night. I was trying to get around to like actually preparing a show, because normally what goes into the show is I will write notes down, things I actually want to talk about. Try and find like some connections between things that have been on my mind and try and build some kind of a story around it. I just didn't get a chance to do that today. Because if you have been listening to the show, I have been this summer between contracts as an adjunct English instructor at the university, which is basically to say I'm unemployed. But it doesn't feel that way because I'm, spending the entire week doing nothing but working. Just different. I'm really am like the hardest working unemployed person I've ever met. Yeah, right. When you see people in the movies and they're like unemployed and they're just sitting on like a raggedy couch all day long and they're drinking Diet Pepsi and they're eating the crust off of a 3-day-old pizza and watching the Family Court. That's not real. That's not what being unemployed's like. Being unemployed is just like, maybe for some people, I don't know. Just it's really like you're going out all day long, just doing whatever you can in the world to just keep the lights on, just to chase your bills, to make sure that everything is paid at the end of the month. That's what unemployment is like to me, and it's difficult, as you can imagine. It's very, very hard. And so I've been, spending my Saturday just like out in the world, working, delivering food, or anything else really. Like I spent most of my afternoon, delivering brake pads and air filters between different advanced auto parts. It really did feel like one of those Clint Eastwood movies, like The Man with No Name. Only instead of like going between competing gangs and playing them against each other, you're just going between two, like an auto supply store, an auto parts supply store, and an oil change place. And they get along pretty well and they help each other. It's really not very exciting, but that was my day, is just like getting on my, getting in my Hyundai Sonata Hybrid and delivering air filters for money. That was what it was, and yeah, then tonight, my wife and I, my wife is an actress here in town, and she was in a show recently at this community theater, and that she did, and that show ended about a month or so ago, and they were doing a new show, and she got comps to that, so we could actually go out tonight and not have to like pay for it, which is really very good thing when you're unemployed. It's always good to actually, do things that you don't have to pay for. And so neither one of us, I think, really wanted to go out tonight, honestly. But we're like, if we don't have to pay for it, we can actually go on a date tonight. So that's good. So we went to go see the show downtown, and then like after that, a few minutes after the show ended, we're in the middle of downtown in Birmingham, Alabama. Downtown is not like it was 15 years ago. There's actually things to do down there now. Like if you go downtown on a Saturday night in like say 2008, there's absolutely nothing to do down there. It's a total ghost town, unless you want to shoot a zombie movie, in which case that's a perfect location that you don't have to pay for, because it's so boring that not even the cops were patrolling it down there. But sometime in like the last 15 years, I'm not sure exactly what happened. They started putting in restaurants down there and bars, and actually a couple of theaters, and there's a movie theater down there now. So it's very possible to go downtown now and go see a show, go get some entertainment, and then like actually walk around and have a hard time choosing between something to do afterwards, a place to go get a drink. So, that's what we did tonight, and so as we after the show was over, we went to this whiskey bar. It's actually a whiskey bar. Like, it's not just like a restaurant. It's not just a bar. It's a place that like specifically, specializes in serving you a certain kind of drink. So that's what we were doing tonight. We went to this whiskey bar, and they had two different menus. They put two different menus down in front of us, and they were both wrapped in like leather, like actual leather, like a leather mason set down and actually put these menus together. And one of them was like just the regular menu, and the other was like a specialty menu. And we said, like, what's a specialty menu? And we open it up. It's like, okay, that's specialty, right? Because there was like Pappy Van Winkle in there. It's like $120 a shot, things like that. This was the menu for people who had a job, and so I didn't look at that menu, although I did take a picture of it with all the different types of whiskeys and the prices and everything like that. I looked like a tourist in my own town, honestly, just kind of flummoxed by that. But that's in a way what you want, right? You want to live in a town that actually has restaurants, has bars, gives you experiences that you can't necessarily always afford. You want that because that brings in like other people, capital, I guess you could say, right? So, yeah, so it was a good night. It was a really good night. My wife and I, like, we went out, we had drinks, we went to a show, and I felt bad because we could have kept going with it. But then I realized, like, I really got to stick to the script and come home here and do a show. And so that's where I am tonight. So yeah. Yeah. It's madness. It's madness. It really is, because like really like nobody's watching right now. Nobody's watching the show, or if they are, haven't commented, but it's okay. It's okay. This is episode number 293 of the Midnight Citizen Show. 293, yeah. And yeah, I think honestly this year so far, I think I've done a show almost every weekend. And done a show every Saturday, so my schedule of late has not allowed me to record Friday like I normally do. And so I have been recording shows on Saturday and actually doing them live, because the promises that I made to myself, as well as like anybody who is listening to my show, that I release a show every Saturday, or I give them a show every Saturday night. So I've just started to do live shows, and I've been enjoying doing it. And the past few weeks, I think this is my fourth show in a row that I've done live. People have tuned in. I think I've kind of created like a cool little community with them. And even if people don't tune in, it's totally okay. Like the idea is like you just kind of come on, you stay for a bit, you can leave if you want to. Or you can stay for the whole thing. If you want to fall asleep, you can do that. It doesn't matter. It's just I'm gonna do it anyway, so I might as well just like do a live show, right? But the reason I do it, even though like nobody's really watching the show right now, is that people will listen later. I do notice every week that I have like a consistent number of downloads on my show. It's always like, if I can share it with you, it's like 46 every week. I have like a consistency between like about 45 and about 55 people who will download the show every week. And sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's a little bit less, but not much less. a few weeks ago, I did a show where I had something like 500 downloads, but that was because the episode was titled Millennial Falcon, so I think people tuned in thinking it was a Star Wars podcast. You know, so, but I do know that there seems to be a consistent audience listening to this show, so I do want to like keep giving them shows, right, every Saturday night. You know, but the major reason is because it just like in this long summer where I'm ostensibly unemployed and delivering brake pads and air filters as well as like Guthrie's chicken and things like that, you know, to people. It's one of those things that's just like giving me purpose, right? It's just like, this is what I enjoy doing, even though I don't make any money for it whatsoever. And it's just one of those things that is also making me feel somewhat liberated from the idea of not having a job, right? Because as I said at the beginning of the show, it's people find it weird, you know, who you work with when they find out that you have other things that you do, you know, other than be at work. And, you know, people have hobbies. Everybody has hobbies, but a lot of hobbies generally are somewhat socially accepted in a weird way. Like, you know, it's like, oh, I play like an intramural, you know, softball league on the weekends, right? Or, you know, I play golf. You know, these are like socially accepted hobbies that are very common things to do when you're not at work. Doing a podcast by yourself in your studio on, you know, on a Saturday night where you talk about anything that you want to is not really a socially accepted hobby. Like, podcasting is definitely socially accepted. But when you tell people you have a podcast, it's like, well, what kind of a podcast is it? You talk about movies, you talk about music. Like, how many people do you have? Do you do guests? Do you interview people? I know a great guy that you should interview. He loves the Die Hard movies. He's an expert about them, you know. No. I really just like, I don't know. I talk about like going to, you know, out, seeing shows, going to weird whiskey bars, you know, talking about Thomas Pynchon books, you know. Of course, that's a niche right there, right? You know. But it's odd. It's like it strikes people as odd. It strikes me as odd, honestly, a lot of the time that I would do something like this. But it's nevertheless, like I said, it's something that like I've done so many times now that it just doesn't, you know, register anymore as being something that I won't do anymore, you know. So anyway. Yeah, so this show that my wife and I saw tonight, I want to talk about this a little bit. This is the show called The Minutes. The Minutes. If I can pull up, you know, something on here. This is a show that was done by the playwright Tracy Letts, and yeah. So Tracy Letts is a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. He won a Pulitzer Prize for writing a play called August Osage County, which my wife has actually acted in. She acted in it about a little bit more than 10 years ago. I think she was in that show. And I was kind of interested in that show. It's just like a family drama about this like a family coming together on this like Oklahoma, in this small Oklahoma town after the death of the patriarch. And just one of those classic, more or less, for lack of a better term, like Tennessee Williams kind of plays. But weird in that, you know, 21st century kind of weird, where it's like it's not just going to be a family drama, there's going to be a twist on it, you know. And the Minutes was very much the same exact way. It's the only thing I knew about the show going in is that it took place at a city council meeting. The whole show was about a city council meeting, and which doesn't sound too exciting. But again, you know going in that it's a play, it's a drama. So dramatic things are going to unfold, you know. I thought that that's a great idea for a play, because if you've ever been on YouTube and you've ever watched, closed circuit footage of a city council meeting, that's some of the most interesting stuff that you can watch on the internet, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion. It's just a place that's rife for drama, because you got the community coming in, and these are the problems that they're dealing with. These are the things that they feel are important, right? And the city council's up there, and they're the elected officials, and they just, by, as a requirement of their appointed positions, have to hear these people out. And so I thought that was a great source of, drama. And stuff that happens at city council meetings, it can tear entire towns apart. As a matter of fact, there's a town not about 10 minutes more from where I'm sitting right now that has made national headlines for its like explosive city council meetings, and the way that the town has become divided between the sheriff and the mayor of that town. I mean, it's interesting stuff. So you could go see a show called The Minutes that's about a city council meeting, and I think there's enough drama right there. But, like I said, because the show takes place in the 21st century, and we have a whole, 500-year tradition of theater, straight plays that we can kind of draw on, that need to be deconstructed and need to buck conventions and all that. It's very much what The Minutes is. It's a show that, like, for the first hour, it's a 90-minute show. So for the first hour, it's fairly conventional. It's just a city council meeting, and there's an old guy that's been on the council for 39 years. And then there's a young guy who this is like his second or third meeting on the council. And then there's the mayor who's trying to hold everybody together and hold order. And, it's very conventional in that way. And like, they just have this interplay, and there's a lot of jokes flying back and forth. It's very much a comedy for the first hour. And the central tension concerns whether or not they're going to hold this year's Heritage Festival. And it's a small town, and like their heritage is rooted in this idea of how the town was founded, which was this, hero of the United States Army, triumphing all over these Native Americans who had right to the property, to the land. So the second half of the play very much goes into the territory of like them having to actually grapple, with that history, the way that Americans have continued to do very much over the course of the past, 50 or 60 years or so. Since we really, I honestly think like it really got kickstarted during the 1960s with the Civil Rights Act, as well as the Vietnam War, where people really understood the true cause and the true like generational impact of of colonialism, right? Of colonization. So it's a somewhat serious play. It deals with like those things, but it also has an ending, a twist that goes full on. I'm not going to say like David Lynch. I don't think David Lynch would be that hardcore in his ending, but it does have an ending that is like, it's weird. It's just, and because it's community theater, you're watching all these actors up there that like I know, and my wife knows from many, many years of, her doing theater with them and me knowing them as, somebody who does people who do theater with my wife, watching them up on stage, saying these like insanely terrible things and doing these things. And, anyway, so it's, but it was a good show. We enjoyed it overall. It's always kind of awkward, going to see people that in plays and community theater, because afterwards, this doesn't happen on like Broadway or anything like that, but afterwards at a community theater show, that you just digested a lot of theater and a lot of ideas and you have a lot of opinions about what you just saw, and you want to like just sit with those opinions and talk with somebody objectively about those opinions, but you know that you also have to go into the lobby, and those actors that you know are going to come out into the lobby and talk to you. And so you have to, you know, figure out, there's like this added stress of trying to figure out what you're going to say to them in a way that's like not going to offend them, in terms of like, you know, letting them know what you really thought about the show. Right. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that tonight. Like, I really enjoyed the show. I genuinely really enjoyed the show, and I thought everybody up there was really good. And if you're listening to me right now, you were fabulous. You were fabulous. You were divine. Just absolutely smashing, all of you, tonight here in the small town of Birmingham, Alabama, where everybody knows everybody else. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a break here for just a minute, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes. I'm going to play you some music. Enjoy that, and we'll see you on the other side of it.
Love it in the morning, I love it in the evening, I love it in the daytime, nighttime, any other time is the right time. Gonna do tonight, got women's in the high place, got women's in the blue hill, got women's on the east side, the west side, and any other side is the best side. Gonna do tonight, gonna do tonight. you know. Oh, what were they thinking of? Salamander talking up a chameleon. It's a 1 in a million. Oh, what were they thinking of? Salamander talking up a chameleon. It's a 1 in a million. It took me out to the fringe. Now I'm not feeling so unhinged. I wanna be a nature boy again. Nature boy. I wanna be a nature boy again. Ooh. It took me out to the fringe. Now I'm not feeling so unhinged. I wanna be a nature boy again. Nature boy. I wanna be a nature boy again. Nature boy. Think I wanna be a nature boy again.
Yeah, the show's got to go on. Would make a terrible date. I think I was proved that tonight. You know, I think the bartender at the whiskey bar could instantly tell that my wife and I were married. You know, because we ordered our drinks and he said, "Do you want to keep it open?" I said, "No, close it," before he could finish that sentence. It sounded like my dad, honestly. You know, he knew he wasn't getting a big tip from me, but yeah, he was wrong. I think I tipped him pretty well. You know, it's like 5%. That's classy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, well, welcome back to the Midnight Citizen Show. I hope you enjoyed that, our music there. First song you heard there was Morning, Noon, and Night by Daddy Longlegs. The second was Nature Boy by Harpo. Played that song before. And I just want to let you know right now, if you're listening, that I'm on Substack at mikesbonfire.substack.com. That's where I've been spending a lot of my time lately. Been doing some writing. I've got a couple of pieces I'm going to be publishing this week over on the Substack. I've been doing a summer reading series. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I've been reading Elmore Leonard's Florida crime novels. Although the last one that I wrote, the one that I'm going to be publishing a review for on Monday, is not set in Florida. I got fooled. It's about a guy from Florida. I got fooled by the plot summary. But it's still a good book anyway. The book is called Glitz. It takes place mainly in Atlantic City. And yeah, you can check out that review on Monday, as well as a new piece I'm also going to be publishing on Friday. So I've been doing a lot of writing this summer, as well as doing the podcast, as well as delivering, like, you know, air filters and brake pads, from Advanced Auto Parts to the Mavis Tire and Brake store and Express Oil Change. So, been doing all that. I've been spending a lot of time also over on Instagram, so I've been doing stuff over there, just short videos, clips, making a lot of announcements over there, so you can check that out at @the_ Midnight Citizen Podcast. I'll be also posting a link to that in the show notes over there. And I'm going to be actually on a podcast this week. I'm going to be on Bob Lament's Static Radio. He invited me to come in and talk with him. This is the third time that I've been on Static Radio. Static Radio is a podcast that goes way back, further in history than mine. back to before there was even podcasting, back when it was still called internet radio. Bob Lement has been doing his show Static Radio since 1999, which really does sound like ancient history. I mean, I guess it was last century, you know. So I'll be doing Bob Lament's show on Wednesday, and I'll be posting the link to that when he posts it. I suppose that'll probably be on Thursday or whatever. But yeah, Bob sent me an email this week, and he's like, do you want to come on and just like talk about movies or something? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll definitely talk about movies. He said like, do you have anyone in mind? Any particular movie in mind? I was like, no, we can, I don't know. Let's start with 2001 and A Space Odyssey, and we'll work our way out from there. How's that? It's good. And so that's what we'll do. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I'll be posting the link to that. So be on the lookout for it. Yeah, and speaking of movies, probably just in the same kind of a quality as 2001: A Space Odyssey. I got home tonight, from driving around today. My wife was like she was getting ready to go out to go see The Minutes, the show, and she had on the television. She had this like movie from the 1990s called Swimming. This is a movie that I don't think I've ever seen all the way through. But it's a fun movie. It's a takeoff, a 1990s, very much in the vein of like a Thomas Pynchon book, a deconstruction of a genre. It's this movie that very much deconstructs the beach blanket, bingo movies of the 1960s, the Annette Funicellos and Frankie Avalon type of movies, where all the teenagers go to the beach and they have a good time. But this is in the 1990s, so there's like virgin sacrifices, there's serial killers, there's a lot of campy themes that play on LGBTQ. It's a fun movie, but very very much a comedy designed to be it knows that the audience is in on the joke, right? So that's that kind of movie. And I was just sitting around, like, not really paying much attention to it. And then what did catch my attention, she was watching it on Pluto TV, and Pluto automatically plays another movie after that. Well, I mean, I guess all the streaming services do now, but right after Swimming comes on, I don't know, I guess the algorithm told my wife and I that we like campy deconstructions of genres, I guess. So after that, a movie came on. I've never seen this movie, but I know of it very well. This movie, Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And this is a movie that I just like have known about for many, many years, but have somehow never gotten around to watching it. And I guess when I was a kid, I thought that this was like a serious movie, like there's Killer Tomatoes, and it was like a serious monster movie, but I don't think so.
Like
but this is how it like starts.
Now, some lucky viewer today, if they know the secret word, will have a chance to win our pot of gold jackpot, which today is up to $9.22. Wow! And all you have to do to win is know our secret word when I call. It's a common household word, one used all the time. And our secret word today is the. Okay, now, on with the show.
So it's very much a movie, again, that, assumes that the audience is in on the joke. That is sort of like, okay, I'm watching a movie. Ooh, just technical difficulty there. Yeah, I'm watching a movie that is very much supposed to be like a movie within a movie. It's like it's a late night movie hosted by some, campy TV host. And then he puts this movie on, and He's like, let's watch the movie. Let's watch Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And it turns out to be very much like the movie Swimming, like a beach blanket bimbo movie. Or bingo. Big-breasted girls go to the beach and take their tops off. They put in the wrong tape.
But I like this one better.
It's like these two kids are working at the ingest deck at the TV station, and they put on the wrong movie. And now finally they're putting on the right movie, and it's Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And yeah, here's a guy who was like a mainstay in a lot of 1980s camp. Let's see if you can remember, if you can recognize this voice, this actor right here.
What? This time, we shall not fail!
So that's, I believe, John Aston. The Geffen Company, in association with Foursquare Productions, presents. And this is the only thing that I knew until I was about 17 years old about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Is just this song, you know?
The theme song still remains the same. The plot itself has hardly changed. A guaranteed bet for fortune and fame.
Yeah, so... Yeah, this movie comes on and it's so crazy. I've never watched this movie. As a matter of fact, for me, really, until I was about 17 years old, I didn't even really know it was a movie. Because if you're my age, and you know, I'm in now my early 40s, quickly approaching my mid 40s. I knew it as a cartoon. It was a Saturday morning cartoon show. There was a show on Saturday morning called Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and I didn't really know what was going on there. You know, it's like when you're a kid, you just see a bunch of stuff is just given to you. And you're like, okay, I guess what this is what the world is about. You know, cartoons about killer tomatoes. Okay, I'll go with it, right? You know, and the same thing sort of goes for a lot of stuff that you're given, you know, like religion. It's like, okay, I guess I'll go with that too. You know, killer tomatoes, a guy walking on water. Yeah, okay, fine, I'll go with it. You just kind of go with all the stuff that you're given. You just assume that that's what the world is like, and you know, whatever. And you don't have really a choice in the matter. You have to spend the rest of your life watching movies and shows about killer tomatoes. And then, you know, that's what the show was. It was a Saturday morning cartoon. It was only really until much later, when I was in high school, I was working at a Suncoast Video in the mall. And we had a copy, a VHS copy. It was a remastered edition of the original Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And somehow I didn't get the videotape. I was not curious enough about it. I didn't watch the cartoon. Like a lot of Saturday morning cartoons was always on. I never really paid much attention to it. And so I just didn't have really a curiosity at all to get the movie and see what, like, a live action version, like, how do you portray in a movie a killer tomato? It's very easy to do that in a cartoon, but how do you actually show a tomato killing somebody? Did I just see this credit? Hang on, wait a second. Am I crazy here? Okay, so it's the beginning of the movie, the credits are playing, and there's this guy on the Vespa. He's delivering a pizza to John Aston's assistant. The pizza box has like a tomato with an X on it. So it's like no tomatoes, no tomato pizza. directed by John DeBello. And Amblin Entertainment, Hughes Entertainment, so I didn't... Produced by David Geffen, Steven Spielberg, John Hughes. Wait, I got to see this movie now. This is a Steven Spielberg and John Hughes co-produced and co-written movie. So I got a question. How come this isn't like a bigger thing? Am I wild? I mean, like, you know, I always knew, like, because George Clooney's in this movie. I knew that this is like one of George Clooney's first movies, but I always assumed, I guess, that I thought this was like a trauma movie.
Say, what do you and the professor do up here? Anyway, I mean, if you don't mind me asking.
The professor continues his research in gene splicing, just as he did at the university.
So do you ever come to town? I never see you, or him. But especially, I never see you. You know, well, so I guess then you are doing research too? Are you his daughter? Or what?
I'm his lover. I also cook and clean.
That's pretty funny. So there's like these strong men that are for some reason there.
They are gardeners and carpenters.
Gardeners and
They are
carpenters.
not tomato men.
So I guess like what's happening here, right, is that John Aston is in his laboratory and he's doing all these wild experiments on tomatoes, I guess, that are ostensibly going to take over the human race. That's what's going on here in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. But I always assumed that this is like, you know, the Toxic Avenger. Troma was always that, you know, low budget studio in the 1980s that would make these like real hack, trash, intentionally bad, high concept movies. And I just assumed that Killer Tomatoes was one of them. And so I knew about the Toxic Avenger when I was in high school, and I looked at the video box for Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and it just looked like really scary, actually. So, and really bloody and gross, and I kind of didn't want to see it. And so I think that that's why I stayed away from this movie for years. Yeah, but here's George Clooney in his, you know, who would later play Edgar R. Murrow in the live production of Good Night and Good Luck on CNN. That was just a couple weeks ago, right?
And as it is with other illegal substances, the youth bringing cannons to bear is going to be close. Never seem to learn. Remember, just say, there's a broadside, direct hit. You gotta love it. To one of society's
Come on, look, who cares about tomatoes?
the attitude of
Listen, son,
American youth.
you
And
weren't
is
there.
any different than it's ever
We
been.
let them sneak in now, and
Today, we talked to
who knows what it'll lead to.
So, as I understand it, and this is just for me kind of watching the movie today while I was getting ready to go to the theater, is that tomatoes have been banned after a Vietnam-like conflict with them. And George Clooney in this movie is like the young kid who doesn't understand why they've banned tomato sauce. So he's making pizza without tomatoes, without sauce. And it looks like his boss is like a veteran of the tomato wars. Who's like, you weren't there. You don't know what it was like.
That was a long time ago, boys. Things were different then. Tomatoes were legal. You could find them everywhere.
There he goes again.
Sometimes I sure miss pizza with tomato sauce.
All right, one medium coconut with anchovies and strawberry jam. Right here.
That's funny.
I remember the first day they moved into the...
Yeah, it was a thing, like anchovies. You know, like in the 80s, anchovies were always a thing. Like, you know, that was like the Ninja Turtles. You know, like they loved pizza, but they hated anchovies, especially Michelangelo. Yeah. Yeah, the Killer Tomatoes movies, like, I want to say these are maybe movies that were, like, always on USA Up all night, maybe. They were, like, late-night movies. Intentionally campy. And I think probably a part of that, like, midnight movie boom that started with something like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And... where I guess they realized there's like really big money to be made in making these low budget schlock films. And if you make them a very specific way and engineer them in a certain way, people will keep going back and they'll build up entire cults around them and they'll dress up like the characters. That obviously happened with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I don't know if it really happened with any of these other movies that were intentionally made to be like that. You know, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. The only other movie that I really know that has genuinely followed in the same kind of midnight movie success as Rocky Horror Picture Show is probably The Room. You know, the Tommy Wiseau movie. Tommy Wiseau, right? There's also a movie that you would hear like a lot about, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Which I think I saw that movie once. I didn't really get into it. You know. There's a scene from Killer Clowns from Outer... You know, it's one of these things like, you know, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It sounds scary. Like, you know, stay away. Like, this movie's made by psychopaths. But yeah, like, when I saw it, there was just really nothing that was, like, all that, you know, terrible about it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Hey, Eddie, that a new bike you got?
What's happening, Spike?
Big bad JoJo coming into town.
Watch this, baby.
Is that bike too big for you?
Hey, Cloudy! Mean bike you got there. Yeah. Can I take a ride, pal?
This little clown has stolen this tiny bike, and he's running afoul of this tough biker gang.
Should have let the man ride his bike. I'm sorry. I seem to have broken your bike. Where'd it go? What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
So he just punched his head off. He decapitated him, and his head went into the trash can. It's pretty funny, huh? Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a fine line to it's a fine line to walk, right? When you intentionally make a bad movie. You know, I think like what people really respond to is the idea that, you know, when they go see a movie over and over again that they know is like bad, it's usually because like the people who made the movie have really good intentions. They actually want to make a good movie. They just fail in like every department. Like The Room very much failed in every department that it was trying to be good at. You know, the acting, the production design, the sound, the camera, and it just failed spectacularly on so many levels that people just keep going back into seeing it because they see this sincere effort that was put into actually trying to make a good movie. Yeah, but like when you see a movie like Return of the Killer Tomatoes or Killer Clowns from Outer Space, these are movies that are intentionally made to be awful. And so the sincerity isn't really there. You know, they're succeeding really well at making a goofy movie, but it's not something that you would want to watch over and over again because everybody in the movie is in on the joke, you know? And so what you really want to see is a certain kind of pornography that took a really, really long time and a lot of patience by people to make. I suppose that's the through line, you know, tonight. I guess. All right, well, without further ado, let's go down to that wonderful place down the street, the Video Street Video Store, watch a couple of old tapes, and I will be back in about 10 minutes to wrap the show up. Enjoy. Yeah.
They couldn't get laid in a whorehouse with a handful of $100 bills. My name is Roy Schildt. I'm the world champion of missile command, 695,265 points, which I achieved in 1985. The prestige of missile command is a lot greater because it's a macho game. You know, it's missile command. It has a lot of paramilitary association, and it has a lot of phallic association associated with it, just like a missile. It's like a penis, you know. It's kind of like there's a lot of penis envy involved.
Of course I was famous.
You know, he goes around saying he's the world's most famous video game player. Like, people are walking up to him all the time recognizing him. I said, well, it's probably the hookers on Park Avenue, you know? You know?
I wouldn't play a candy-ass game like Pac-Man. That's for girls and chumps. The guys who play Pac-Man are not very talented. They can't handle games like Missile Command or any of the real tough games. Those games are more popular because they're easier to play, and the games like Missile Command are not that popular because they're really hard to master, and it takes a lot of skill to play them. And trackballs are a lot harder to control than a joystick. And there's 3 buttons, 3 different missile bases, and missiles that travel at different speeds.
The Missile Command record is a super record, and his records are mediocre. One great record is worth 20 mediocre records as far as I'm concerned. That's why I refer to him as Silly Bitchel, because he really is nothing but a silly bitch.
Billy Mitchell broke my score. Sorry.
Todd Rogers, I mean, that guy is so high on himself, you can't even talk to him.
There's a number of players out there that are insanely jealous, which I won't mention names, of Billy's achievements.
How would you like it if you worked that hard to achieve something and some jackass came along and tried to, you know, I never threatened Walter Day, but he thinks I did. I tried to call him after that, and he says, I can't talk to you, my attorney hangs the phone up. Well, I had my attorney send Walter Day a letter saying that you better tell the truth about my score or else we're going to file an injunction against you, going to court and all this other stuff. And the truth is, Bill Mitchell doesn't have any talent. He's not a great player. He's completely full of shit. The Missile Command score is a genuine achievement, and that's going to be the truth of it, and he knows it. Is that why I'm fighting so hard to hold on to the Missile Command score? Yes. Because it makes me special. Gives me recognition. Of course I want to keep it. I don't want someone to say it was fake or, I mean, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? I mean, is that really a question that needs to be asked? That was close. Well, I started playing Missile Command because it was put into the lobby of my student dorm at the University Co-op at UCLA. Because when people were playing video games, they say, oh, you're awesome. You know, it was kind of like, and then all of a sudden some girl pinched me on the ass and called me Mr. Awesome. It kind of like stuck on. So I liked it after that. It's like a psychological escape place for me. It's where I pretend I'm king of the world. He wants, and he's a video game stud, and he walks down the street, everyone wants his autograph. I mean, everybody wants to be famous. I mean, everybody wants to be somebody special. I mean, you know, unless they're walking around without a pair of balls. I mean, this book is important literary accomplishment in American history because it reveals the truth about success in America today. You know, America is a country of immigrants, and immigrants is what make this country great. The most successful immigrant this country has ever had is, in fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Mr. Awesome program is kind of like an expose on exactly the footsteps that Arnold used to be successful, and not many people really know this. I don't have any direct proof of it, but he made his entire fortune drug dealer and a prostitute. Yeah, I'm being serious.
All these players will...
Hey, Mike, hey, thanks for sending me this video.
Dude, yeah, ain't it some wild stuff?
Yeah, that's some pretty wild stuff, all right. Oh, hey, let's send it to Joanne.
Dude, yes, get it.
What in the... This is horrible. Why would John send me something so disgusting?
Has Joanne responded yet?
Oh, you know, no, she hasn't. I don't know what the problem is. It's a pretty funny video.
Her loss.
Yeah.
Texting me that disgusting video just made me feel awful. How could he be so insensitive? I don't think I want to work there anymore.
Hi, I'm Vikas Miller. Our associates should never have to deal with something like this. This type of behavior from any Waffle House associate is out of line and will not be tolerated. When you are at Waffle House, you can't show coworkers or anyone videos, pictures, jokes, or anything of a sexual nature. This also extends to texting and emailing. You can't send any message or pictures of a sexual nature. This may also apply when you're off duty. Today we want to show you different situations to better reinforce what is not allowed under our sexual harassment and Smart Start policies. We will also tell you what you can do if you feel like you're being harassed. Here at Waffle House, we want everyone to work in an environment they find safe and free of harassment and discrimination. We simply won't tolerate this behavior. Okay, this is the official legal definition of sexual harassment. It is unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, such as sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. When it comes to sexual or any harassment, it's what the victim believes is harassment, not the intent of the other person. That means if something is intended to be a joke and not harmful, but the person hearing the joke is offended, then this could be judged as harassment. And if you join in or laugh at an offending joke, you also could be in violation of our harassment policies.
Hey Becky, how's it going?
I'm fine, thanks.
Hey, let me help you with that.
I've got it. Thanks.
Hey Becky.
Hey, can you just...
Hey.
Can you excuse me, please?
Excuse me.
I can't stand working with him. He won't keep his hands off of me. He should just do his job and leave me alone. I just want to be left alone.
This male associate's behavior clearly violates our sexual harassment policy. It's not okay for an associate to give unwelcome hugs, rubs, massages, or have any other unwelcome physical contact with another associate. If anyone says or does anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, you should tell that person to stop immediately and report that person's behavior to the associate hotline. Steps will be taken to stop the conduct and arrangements made so the reporting associate and the accused will be separated until the investigation is completed. Once your sexual harassment complaint is reported, it will be assigned to an investigator. If it is determined that the person accused of misconduct violated our sexual harassment policy, that person will be subject to disciplinary action and will likely be terminated.
You smell really good. What's that perfume you're wearing? It smells really sexy.
I don't know. It's just something cheap I picked up.
You know, I love looking at you. You have such a hot body. Let's go out sometime. What do you like to do?
Sorry, but you're not my type.
Oh, come on, gorgeous. Why don't you give me a try?
What part of no don't you understand?
Look, when I see something that I want, I usually don't stop until I get it.
I wish Pam would stop hitting on me and just do her job. I cannot put up with this for the rest of the shift. Why does she not understand that I'm not interested in her? When I say no, I mean no.
Unwelcome sexual comments or advances to an associate or touching an associate in an unwelcome manner is forbidden. No means no, period. No associate should be subjected to this type of behavior. If anyone says or does anything of a sexual nature that makes you feel uncomfortable, immediately report the incident to the associate hotline, regardless of the gender of the person involved.
Hey, Donna.
Hey, Gary.
Hi, can I talk to you about getting some more hours?
Sure. Why don't you grab this trash? We'll talk on the way to the dumpster.
Okay. Thank you so much for the hours, too, Donna. I really appreciate
Gary,
it.
if you need those hours, I'm going to need you to do something for me.
Okay,
Why
whatever
don't you
want.
come over after work? We can discuss this.
Okay, why are you touching me? No, I can't. I have a wife at home and a
No,
newborn.
Gary, your wife doesn't need to know. You can come over. We'll have a few drinks. Who knows what else might happen?
Okay, Donna, you're my boss.
You're
no.
not going to get any hours then.
A manager can never deny an associate any job benefits such as request for more hours or to work a certain shift, or a pay raise or promotion because the associate refuses to comply with the manager's sexual request. In addition, it is our policy that no manager may ever date any associate in their management chain of command. This type of behavior is forbidden and should be reported to the associate hotline. Okay, let's see what happens next.
Okay, why am I not on the schedule? She took me off the schedule completely? You know what? I'm done with this job. I quit. Okay? I'm not gonna be treated like that. You know what? I'll just go find another job.
This manager's behavior must be reported to the hotline.
The private lives of Waffle House employees. Yeah. Yeah, training videos are the best. I mean, listen, everything that they said in that video is very, very serious. I'm not downplaying it whatsoever, but I just love the fact that, like, companies just somehow are, like, always too cheap to, in their training videos and their production value, to hire real actors. So they just, I guess, get the people who already work for them and maybe pay them time and a half or whatever to enact these scenarios. And that's what I find funny in them. Not the, you know, actual content itself. That's very serious, you know. But I don't remember ever having to watch an actual training video until I think I worked for Brookstone for that one Christmas back in like 2007. They had me watch some safety videos. But not sexual harassment videos. It was, you know, it was Christmas at the mall. We were too busy to harass each other, I guess. I guess that was the thing. What's going on? Anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining me here tonight on the Midnight Citizen Show. This has been, as I said, this is an interesting experiment, I guess, to actually go out on the town and then come back and like just sit down and just record a show without any preparation whatsoever. I you know, you could probably tell tonight. I don't know, maybe so, maybe not. But anyway, but if you want to hear other much better shows, of course, I always feel like after I record a show that it was the worst show I ever did. But maybe this one's okay. But probably not. You know, if you want to hear other shows, you can go, like I said, over to the Substack at mikesbonfire.substack.com. You can hear a huge archive of shows going back years on the Substack. I'm also over at the Overnightscape Underground, ONSUG.com. Over there, you can hear me as well as a lot of other great hosts that do a show just like this. You know, the hobby from their day jobs. Nobody makes money for it. It's just something they enjoy doing and always have a very difficult job explaining it to anybody they work with, what their hobby is. That's what unites us all over there at the Overnightscape Underground, this wonderful network that I've been with now for, since 2011. Very long time. And also, as I said, over at the Instagram and YouTube, those both have the same exact handle, and I'll link it in the show notes, but it's _the Midnight Citizen Podcast. That is where I'm doing the show live right now. That's where it will be available to stream. And also you can download and stream the shows on all your major your favorite platforms. You can do it there as well. So anyway, okay. All right. It is now 1:13 in the morning. Saturday, June 29th, 2025, and I have to, you know, get up and work tomorrow. So that's where I'll end it tonight. I want to thank you so much once more for joining me. And come back for more next Saturday night. I'll be doing a show again next Saturday night, a live show starting about 12 a.m., 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Keep your eyes open.